Michael.
All right. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Michael. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Wonderful. Good to have you today.
Thank you.
How's the day so far?
Oh, it's early for me, but it's very nice out. We had a really long winter,
Mhm.
and like there's glimpses of spring and a warm up and thaw out, and there's some buds on trees, and I'm pretty happy.
Super. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Michael, your fourth full-length album, Walk Through Fire, was out on March 6th. So, would you like to tell
Yeah.
me a bit on the songwriting and production that goes behind this new album?
Okay. Um, this new album, I think, is, you know, if we start with the foreign band, which was Destroyer, but was my band, and I was a writer. Everything just kind of matured. Like the writing was kind of, I'm going to say immature and was about rock and roll things. And as my mind spread out a little bit, I started to cover more topics. And as you cover more topics besides rock and roll, you need different feels and different things. And I think it's probably more diverse and more interesting than the early stuff. The early stuff was just like just a kick in the balls, but it was just always that instead of just a kick in the balls, but we'll let off and, do some different things.
Yeah.
So I think there's some cool messages in the writing and in the songwriting, like the song as a whole. Like the lyrics match the mood of the song and things like that, that it comes together as a whole.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's Walk Through Fire has some kind of a theme or a concept that was focused on.
Yeah, there are two things that's about. So when you look at it and you look at it for face value, walk through fire, and it has a picture of a guy and he's walking through fire, through gunfire. And that represents pretty much what we go through in the life because there's as we go through our regular life, what we call regular, or people have set up for us as regular, there's all these peripheral visions of like, oh, what's going on right now? Oh my God. And so to speak, this fire is going on here and here and here, and the world is full of turmoil. But staying focused and walking through it, and staying on where you want to be, I think is important. But the song itself is kind of about that, but it's also about maximizing the human state. I don't know where you're from and what your background is. Uh, Here in America, we're kind of put in this mental box. You do this, you go to work, you eat, you poop, and then you crap, and you have kids and you die. And that's pretty much what most people do. And they go out and have a beer on the weekend and watch a sports game. But there's so much more to life than that. There's so much more to the psyche. And yeah, I'm getting a little in depth for heavy metal. So it still rocks. If you want to take it like walk through
Yeah.
fire, it's aggressive, you can. But it's if you take the attitude and the idea, people can walk through red hot coals with no effect on their body, no burns, and they can walk right through it if you're in the right mental state.
Yeah.
The human being is capable of doing unbelievable things,
Yeah.
remote viewing, tapping into a larger, information base than we have, right? And kind of the big cloud of all information. So we don't pay any attention to that. If it worries us, we'd stop thinking about it. That's too much for me, you know. And
Gosh.
I think that part of life is way more interesting
Mm.
than anything else. So that's what it's about in a nutshell. I mean, I said a lot, but there we go.
Yeah. And had the pleasure to listen to the album in its entirety, and I have to say, 13 amazing songs, beautifully written,
Cool.
the good old classic heavy metal sound, the
Yeah.
musicianship is top notch, vocals are mind blowing. It just takes back to the good old days of the early heavy metal, hair metal era kind of stuff. So great songs.
Yeah.
I totally loving this album. I don't think there is not even a single song that can be let out from this album. So from the start to the end, absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for
Yes.
putting us an
And then thank
amazing.
you for that compliment. I'm glad you appreciated it.
Amazing. And as a creator of the music, how do you feel about the release of this new album?
I'm really excited. I mean, back in the 1980s,
Yeah.
there was a big possibility of like scoring this big record deal and being a superstar. Now, money might be a little different, right? But that was your you could get on the platform and the elevator goes right up to the top floor of stardom and fame and you're noticed right away. So we didn't make that elevator. We were a little bit younger and we're in Philadelphia, and there was a lot of bands that got signed out of Philadelphia that were a little bit musically more mature and really good at what they did. And we were just like, we were getting there, but we weren't there yet. By the time we got there, musical styles had changed. And, we were kind of like, nah, we're not bothering with this 80s rock and roll anymore in America. We're gonna focus on the grunge stuff. And I kind of gave up music. So I was jaded. So I was like, my attitude was like, I forgot music for a little while. But then I came back with a kind of a grounded attitude like, I like music. I love music. I play music well. We can do this. I can do this. This is part of my life. Work my career, but also do music. And that's where this is coming from. So, as many times as I've kind of laid back, or laid off a little bit, there was a lot of stuff that was still out. And still, I was still writing. And the band, one last time, things come, things go. The band moved. So I was by myself and I said to myself, I don't want to stop writing and doing music. So I'm going to keep writing and I'm going to keep putting stuff out and doing my thing.
Mm.
And as I wound up with some of the strongest material that I've had, some of this material I had ideas for back at the end of the 80s and into the 90s, but it never fruited into a full song.
Yeah.
So that drove me to finish that. And I looked at it and I thought, this is probably the best I've done. Easy not to try and go further with it. And that's what led to what you have today.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Cool. 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 And did you do something special on the day of the release?
No, no. It was just that I didn't bust open a cork and a champagne bottle or anything like that. It was just another day. It was kind of exciting though,
Yeah.
so
Great. Great. And are there some big touring plans for 2026?
there are some touring plans, and right now I'm caught in the turmoil of some things are happening, and I'm going to leave them unspoken yet, just because I've got to provide the touring band.
Mm.
So as I said at the last point, a lot of the band had gone their separate ways. So this is totally me. So I've got to represent this really good with great live players, and I like the live players to be showmen,
Mm.
and we want to support it. We want to sound like the record. So we need the three-piece harmonies and things like that. So I've been in the process of auditioning and getting the right people right now. And I think I'm a little behind. I thought I'd be finished by now and we'd be working towards something and we'd be playing. So, but we do have some things planned for some touring and some dates as we get this ready. So I got a call from one of the promoters. They said, "Are you ready yet?" And I was like, "Not yet, but I'm very hopeful." So
Wonderful.
I'm gonna leave that unanswered yet. So yes, there are some plans.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And speaking of the music videos, where you have released a visualizer for Solar Head and Walk Through Fire, but are there
Yeah.
plans to come up with an official music video for this album?
Okay. So those two visualizers, Solar Head was pretty easy. It was about a coronal mass ejection or a solar flare that's life threatening.
Yeah.
So the background of the sun and how violent the sun looks in the beginning of the song is an actual recording of solar wind, like that noise in the very beginning.
Yeah.
That's solar wind. And the words just fit that. It was talking from the viewpoint that if the sun were talking to you and the sun had a consciousness, which the sun probably does, and then saying like, I'm coming to get you. Look out. It was a pretty aggressive standpoint. It was great for a song. And then Walk Through Fire, you know, I already had the person, the visual of the person with the gun, and we just played off of that for that visualizer, and it kind of goes along with it. It's interesting to see in the background. I'd like to do a band video, but we've got to secure this live band and make it very interesting, I think.
Yeah, good. Good. I'm
So
looking forward to that.
yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of the band Silk Helvetica, earlier you guys were Destroyers from the
Mhm.
late 80s, and from 2004 as Silk Helvetica, and with four full-length albums now. So how do you
Yeah.
guys feel about the road that you have traveled so far?
Awesome. I still listen to I checked to see if we were on Pandora and YouTube and everywhere, and I was looking, and it it drew up some of the older music. And I was like, this is better than I thought. So the progression of, and it sounds different. It was done in a different era with a different person engineering it and producing it. It's a nice progression. So when I look back to it, the only thing I think is a little rough around the edges is some of the early Destroyer stuff. It was just kind of, in your face, wham bam, you know, but it's cool. It's a really nice progression, I think, to hear something rough around the edges kind of expand itself and get better and better as time goes by. So I'm pretty proud of it.
Awesome, awesome. And moving on, what could be next for Silk Helvetica?
Oh my God. Putting this live band together, I really do enjoy playing live. I love it. The energy of the people, the energy of playing. I think it's not like putting a record on or an album or something, listening. The person sitting there and listening to all the intricacies going on. But when you have a live band in front of you that's pretty loud, that's pretty powerful, and they're having this interaction with people.
Mhm.
You're interacting with a person now. It's a different thing. And I like to put out as much energy as I can. And hopefully the people in the audience are getting that and feeding on that energy. There's something magical about music. There is. And my wife always tells me, like, every time you play a live date, you're not worth shit for about 3 days. And, you know, when she says that, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can't do much. But then I think about, like, I'm doing it right. That's how it should be. I should enjoy it and put that much energy forth, and people should get it. So I'm looking forward to going out and completing this live setup and doing doing shows and things like that. I have some music recorded and no shortage of songs to follow up and do another album when the time comes. But for now, just we want to learn these songs and execute these songs and go out and play for some people. That'll be awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Michael, finally, any message that you have for the fans around the world?
Get the record, get the album, whatever form you're going to get it in, MP3 or digital copy or CD. They're going to, who knows? They may make vinyl. It all depends on how interested people become in this. And please come see us live if you can. And we'll gladly put on a good show full of energy for you.
Beautiful, beautiful, Michael. And Michael, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this wonderful opportunity to have you on this interview. A real pleasure to meet you, and thank you for Walk Through Fire. Like I said earlier, a fantastic album. I'm so much in love with this new album. So thanks to you and the band for all this awesomeness, and really looking forward to see you guys on the road.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. Take care and have a good day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.